Hey, yo, what's going on, guys? We had a brand new episode of Buy or Bust today. We're going to be going over the brand new Series 5 card, Luna Snow, as well as some key synergies, a couple decks, as well as our final thoughts on the card itself. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. Here is Luna Snow, which is an on reveal. Add an ice cube to each side of this location, which, by the way, the ice cube is also... I mean, technically Series 5, it's a token for Luna, which is at the start of each turn, get +1 energy, then destroy this if your side is full here. Meaning, even if this lane does get full, you will get the +1 energy on the next turn before this destroys, opposed to this destroying itself in the middle of the turn, kind of like the Widow's Kiss will. So definitely keep that in mind when it comes to this card. But let's talk about some key synergies with this card as well. Some that come to mind is Kyra. Kyra protects your side of that card, so you can actually fill up that side of the board and making sure that card does not get destroyed. So you still have just that energy going and flowing each and every time you can play onto that lane in case there is a lot of clog, in case you just want to fill it up, maybe if you're trying to do some Galacto, or maybe you're trying to do some, I don't know, maybe some Kitty Pride stuff. And then, of course, you have Marvel Boy. Since this is a one-cost card, Marvel Boy will also give that little ice cube a buff as well, giving it plus power since it is a one-drop. And then, of course, Red Guardian. I'm using Red Guardian as a synergistic card to negate the power your opponent would be getting from, or the energy your opponent would be getting from having the ice cube, since it does go to your opponent's side of the board as well. Make it so that only you get that extra max energy and your opponent doesn't. And with that in mind, let's look at some of these counters. So some of the main counters, of course, are going to be White Widow. Like I was saying, if you do fill this side of the board, White Widow can make it so that the ice cube does not go off. Well, at the time of actually looking at this now, if you do fill this with White Widow, by the way, the Widow's Kiss probably would die before even the ice cube happens. So more often than not, you're really not going to get probably that value with White Widow. But I do think something like Killmonger, being able to kill that ice cube, or your opponent kills your ice cube, so you're not getting the max energy. Maybe they're not getting the max energy either. And then Red Guardian's also a counter against you, because they could Red Guardian your ice cube, so you don't get that extra energy. I think maybe instead of White Widow, Electra definitely is a better shout than that. So that's a misplay on my part. But let's go ahead and talk about the good when it comes to this card as well. So the good, as we started this off, is going to be it's a 3/5 with a ramp, which is good stats. All you have to do is play this card, and it adds, you know, the ice cube to your side and your opponent's side of the board. That's all you have to do. You don't have to play a card onto it. It's not like Electro, where it limits you to only being able to play one card per turn. Hope you have to play onto Hope. Psylocke gives you +1 max energy the next turn, so Psylocke also helps there. We also have, you know, a very manageable downside, like I'm saying. It has an ice cube to your opponent's side of the board, which you can just Red Guardian. You could Electra. You could find all sorts of different ways to, you know, get rid of it. Maybe you do want to Killmonger it. Maybe you want to Lady Deathstrike it. Maybe you've protected yours, so you're trying to negate your opponent's. It's finally a ramp card, I think, for Zoo. I think it's something that could enable you to be able to do a Khazar and a Shanna at the end of the game. Allow you just to do a couple different options, be able to get cards out early. Maybe you could run an Onslaught some of these lists. Maybe you can run some Sarah things. But it really feels like a ramp card to allow you to be able to do some stuff here. You know, and it happens at the beginning of every single turn, even if... which I don't know why that keeps going off. Even if your location is full, it's the beginning of each turn. So unlike the Widow's Kiss stuff like I was talking about as well. And then we go over to the bad over here, all right? So you are giving your opponent extra energy as well, which is something you do need to keep in mind. You're giving yourself extra energy, you are giving your opponent extra energy, and if they have a way to counter your extra energy, that's a real feels bad for you. If you don't have a way to counter their extra energy, they're also going to be able to ramp at the same time you are. It's a bad draw at the end of the game. You're not going to be able to get the ramp function you are thinking you are trying to get with this in mind, but it is still a 3/5, so the stats are good, but you're not going to be able to get the effect you want if you do draw this at the end of the game. There's a variety of ways to counter, like I was saying, whether it's a Red Guardian, whether it's an Electra, whether it's a Killmonger, whether it's some way to clog your board. Maybe your opponent plays a Debris, or they play a Green Goblin, or they Titania it just to clog your side of the board so you don't get that extra energy. And like I said, you could clog yourself. So that is a downside. I do think Clog is going to be coming back with this right now. And with how much Thanos and Air Shimmer still around, Clog is already making a small bit of a resurgence. So I can start seeing a lot more Clog. But let's talk about the floor and the ceiling for this card. So at the very high top end, the ceiling of this card, you get to play this out on curve, and you get extra energy for turns 4, 5, and 6. So you end up with 5 energy on 4, 6 energy on 5, and 7 energy on turn 6. That's pretty good. That's if you get it perfect right there. Your opponent, of course, is ramping with you, but you're getting all that extra energy yourself. And then the bad would be you draw this at the end of the game, you don't get the extra energy, and it's a 3-5. That's pretty much like the floor there. Another thing would be, I mean, your opponent destroys yours, and then you're stuck with no extra energy, but they have extra energy instead. And then, on average, you get to play this before turn 6 and have extra energy at the beginning of the next turn each time. So that's just like, you play it on 4, you still get it on 5 or 6. You play it on 5, you still get the extra energy on turn 6. So just, on average, you should be able to at least get some value out of this card with, of course, your highest version or your highest value of this card being able to play it out on curve on turn 3. And then my first deck we have here is going to be the Arctic Zoo. So this is, like I said, this is going to be some just zoo shenanigans. I think you have Electra teched into this to be able to negate your snow guards, or not snow guards, wow. Mad Moment, they kind of look similar, but that's on me. Your Luna Snows, Ice Cube, you know, you can play Luna into Electra, and then you can negate their Ice Cube there, or you could play Electra right after you play Luna, because you also have the extra energy to be able to play a 1-drop. You can get all sorts of different value with this list. You have Kyera to protect yours as well. You have Mockingbird value. It's kind of just like a typical kind of zoo list over here. Next, we have a Thanos list. So I'm putting Electra in again into this Thanos list. You also have Red Guardian to negate the Ice Cube as well, allowing you to have extra energy with Thanos. You guys already know Thanos Airshim already is so good right now. Why not having the extra energy for yourself? You know, Hope Summers was in some of these OG builds too. So I think this is something that can flow well. It's still kind of like a zoo Thanos kind of. With only a few zoo cards, but you also have the power with Sasquatch, Mockingbird, and Coal Obsidian. Thanos with extra energy feels pretty solid, though, like I was saying. And then last but not least, we do got some Surfer stuff. I think this card could work with Surfer, totally. You have the Red Guardian as tech as well. Having this extra energy, you play Luna on 3. You have extra energy on turn 4. You can play Sarah out on turn 4. Playing Sarah out early is insane. You also have Rogue for all this ongoing stuff going on right now. Red Guardian to be able to hit their Ice Cube. Like, there's so many different ways you can wiggle around here. You maybe even could, like, play Sarah into, like, a Red Guardian, like, Killmonger kind of thing. We don't have Killmonger in this list. You probably swap out Copycat for Killmonger at the time of me taking this. Another just mess plan. But you probably could do Copycat for Killmonger for the Nova things. We're probably down in the description below. I'll have the updated list with Killmonger instead of Copycat, so just keep that in mind. But it's just like a typical kind of Surfer package going on here. And then let's talk about these spotlights. So we have the Luna Snow Spotlight, we have Lady Deathstrike in Spotlights, and we have X-23. At the time of posting this video, X-23 is still a Series 5 card. She will be dropping down to Series 4, more towards the patch next season, which will not be on Tuesday. It'll be the following Tuesday, so she still will be Series 5 at the time of these spotlights going out, so keep that in mind. I do think overall this is a pretty good week. I mean, Lady Deathstrike doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion. Granted, I'm more biased on it. I think X-23 is an incredible Series 5 card. I think if we really do talk about like these strengths of the week, X-23 brings the week up. She's like a 4 or 5 star, in my opinion, for what she does for Destroy. Overall, it just literally elevates that whole entire archetype to be able to have the extra energy and the ramp. You guys have seen, you know, how ramp works. Lady Deathstrike is a good card, but not a necessity. Now, she kind of brings it down. I do think she's a lot of utility right now. I think they have her with Luna Snow because it also can hit the Ice Cube, so you do get that Ice Cube destruction value as well. It also can hit some of this Mobius, some of this Iron Man, Mystique stuff that's going around, as most of those cards do have 3 or less power, so Lady Deathstrike destroys that. I do think Luna Snow is going to be a fun card. I don't necessarily know she's like the most amazing card. Kind of still like Galacta. I think they're going to be fun. They can be good, but they're not as game-breaking as some of these other cards we've had in previous seasons. I think the variants are incredible. I love these variants. So, like, if you're just going for variants or trying to collect those, I love every single one of them. I think the Luna does have a better super rare coming out on Wednesday, but I do really like the Marvel Rivals collab, and I do like the Marvel Rivals variants as well. But that X23 is so freaking good. Oh my goodness. And the overall, the community rating in this card, from what I've seen, is like not a lot of people are very high in this card. Yes, it is a ramp, but like the ability, of course, giving your opponent the extra energy is something people are keeping in mind, which I think is totally valid. I don't think it's crazy strong. I think there's potential for it to be strong. I think the flexibility is interesting. I made it as a 3/5. That gives you extra energy, but I mean, I don't necessarily know if there's a large variety of different lists you throw this into. Maybe there is. Totally let me know down below if you guys have some crazy ideas as well. I don't think this gets adjusted, though. I think it's not really that likely. Maybe that could be a 1-star instead of a 2-star. But I think it's an okay card. I don't think it's anything crazy. I don't know. I'm just still wavering on like how flexible I really do think this card is. But I really don't think it's going to be adjusted. I think it does have potential to give you the extra ramp value, which that really can help you go to the top. You know how extra energy works in this game. We are pretty low on Wiccan, and then Wiccan's everywhere now, and Wiccan's crazy. Of course, that's +2 extra energy opposed to just +1, and the downside, of course, is a little bit different. But I don't know. I think this card has potential, but I'm not the craziest about it, even though I do like the card, which means I do really think it's a good card to have for the collection. It is a 3/5. It still does give you the energy boost. I'm on the fence of if this is like a really like good card, like you should have to get this, which I don't think it's a have to get card, but I think it's a card to get. I think this week, if you're missing X23, it's a must open week if you're missing X23. I think Lady Deathstrike's a good card to have, but also not a must have. So I do think this is a buy card. But, of course, still use your resources sparingly, wait a couple days, and see what people mess around with before fully committing to it. And then, you know, especially if you need other cards, if you need other cards here, definitely open. If you're missing X23, open this week, please. Of course, she is dropping to Series 4 the week after, so do keep that in mind. And Lady Deathstrike is Series 4 as well. But I think this is a good week to open. And then I could be wrong. There's a lot of times I've been wrong. The community itself, we've all been wrong about cards. So definitely wait a couple days. Or if you have the resources open to try and say collection complete, just, you know, take it with a grain of salt. And, you know, sometimes, like we said, cards don't work the way we think they're going to work. And they're going to change. You know, we haven't seen the dev video just yet at the time of this coming out. So maybe it could have changed also in the dev video. So definitely just keep that in mind going forward. But I think this is a pretty decent card. And then, yeah, prioritize stuff if it's your playstyle, for real. If you're seeing a lot of people having fun with the list, maybe it's not the list for you, though. But, like, if it is something you think you're going to have a fun time with, spend your resources on. We're playing a video game for Pete's sake, you know? At the end of the day, we're trying just to get as much enjoyment as possible, even if you're not having a lot of fun with Snap right now, trying to find some sort of way to have fun. Which, let me know down below, what are your guys' thoughts on Snap right now? Is there any changes you think Snap needs to be made? Card acquisition. But thank you guys once again so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Until the next time, you guys have a good one. God bless, and Tucker out.